In this video, I would like to practice identifying information from a graph to write the equation of a sine or cosine function. We've already said that the graphs of sine and cosine functions with possible coefficients in the following four places, A, B, C, and D, say something about the graph of the function. These graphs have amplitude, absolute value of A, period of 2 pi over B, phase shift of C units to the right, and a midline of y equals D. That's a vertical shift up or down. I would also like to say here that you may hear conversation about the frequency of a sine or cosine graph, and that is simply this value of B, or the absolute value of B. And since the period is 2 pi over B, we can rearrange this relationship to say that B, the frequency, is 2 pi divided by the period. That's important as we go from a graph to an equation, because we can easily observe the period of a graph. We will have to do some calculations to then find the frequency that fits into the equation of the sine or cosine function. Let's look at two examples where we write an equation to fit a sine or cosine graph. I would like to note a couple of things about this graph. First, the midline here is right at y equals 0. So there is no horizontal shift, no vertical shift up or down for this graph. Also, at 0, the graph is starting on the midline, it's going up, and then it's going down. That fits a sine function curve. So we're going to express this graph using the sine function. Finally, the amplitude is 2, the height above or below the midline. The period is also 2. Now, if the period is 2, what is the frequency? Well, it's 2 pi divided by 2. The frequency is pi. That is the coefficient that's going to go into our equation of the sine graph. Let's see if we can create the equation now. Y equals an amplitude of 2. It's a sine graph. The frequency is pi, so I need to say pi x. There is no phase shift to the left or to the right, and there is no vertical transformation up or down. This equation describes our graph above. Now I want to say that I could have also expressed this graph using a cosine function that would have involved a phase shift to the left or to the right. The simpler option here is probably to choose the sine function and to not show a phase shift in the equation. Second example, let's write an equation to fit the following graph. I want to note some things about this graph. First, the midline does not appear to be y equals 0. This graph is centered around the horizontal line y equals 1. So we need to note there's a midline at y equals 1, which means the whole graph was moved 1 unit up. The amplitude, the height above or below the midline, is 2 units. So the amplitude is 2. It looks like the period is 6 pi. From maximum value to maximum value, it takes 6 pi units to reach that on the x-axis. So what is the frequency? The frequency is 2 pi divided by 6 pi, which equals 2 over 6, or 1/3. This is the coefficient that will be attached to x in our equation. Should I choose sine or cosine to express this function? Well, as I look at the origin at x equals 0, it looks like the y values of the graph are starting at the maximum point. They're going down to reach a minimum, then they're coming back up. That fits the shape of our cosine function. So I'm going to write an equation for this graph in terms of cosine. Y equals 2 cosine of 1/3 x plus 1 because of that vertical shift up 1 unit.